So today we're going deep into Middle-earth. And this is important, we're not just talking like the surface stories. Everyone loves those, but
we're going deeper, way deeper.
Think like, what's a good analogy? Like archaeology.
But for words.
Yes. Okay, I love that. So we've got, let me see, excerpts from Tom Shippey's The Road to Middle-earth. And this book, it really like digs into how Tolkien built his world, which honestly is my favorite part of fantasy, world building. It's just
the best, absolutely.
So fascinating. But okay, Shippey, he makes this argument. He says, to really truly get Tolkien, you got to understand one key thing about him. This might sound weird, but
the man was basically a word nerd, like a serious one.
Wait, for real? I mean, I knew he was a professor and all, but...
Oh, yeah. Big time. Tolkien, he wasn't just writing stories. He was building a whole, like, linguistic history behind them. He was a philologist.
Okay, got to stop you right there. For those of us who, didn't spend college deciphering ancient scrolls...
Right.
What does that even mean?
So, basically, he studied how languages change, like how they evolve over time, their hidden connections, all the stories that words carry inside them.
Okay, see, now you've got me intrigued, because how does a word nerd create a whole world? That's incredible. I can barely keep track of my grocery list.
See, that's where Tolkien's genius comes in. He understood something that most people, even really smart people, they miss this. Words. They have power. Like real power, way beyond their literal meaning.
Okay, all right, you're going to have to explain that one. I'm listening.
Okay, think about this. You walk down the street, you see a sign, Aikman Street. Do you think twice about it?
Probably not, I'll be honest.
Exactly. But Tolkien, you wouldn't just see a name. He'd see like a linguistic fossil, a whisper of history, echoing through time.
Hold on, Aikman Street, is that a real place?
Oh, yeah, totally. Old Roman road in England. But its name, that name tells a story. See, Aikman, it's like a corrupted form of Aquae Sulis, which was the Roman name for Bath, England.
So over time, as like different people lived there, the name, it changed too.
Exactly. It became this blend of cultures, languages, all condensed down into the single name. And Tolkien, he was obsessed with that kind of layered history.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. But how does Aikman Street connect to like orcs and elves and Middle-earth?
Because Tolkien, he used that same principle, this idea that names hold history, to give Middle-earth a sense of depth. Even if he never explains it in the books, you get this feeling that every place, every character has a story going back centuries.
It's like he's giving you a glimpse into this vast ancient world, even if you only see a tiny, tiny corner of it in the books.
Yes, exactly. It makes the world feel real, lived in. Like, take Gilgalad. It just sounds elvish, right?
It totally does here.
Even if you don't know his whole family history, you get the sense that there is one, stretching back generations.
You're not just reading a name, it's like you're hearing these whispers of ancient battles and lost kingdoms and romances, all those things Tolkien loved.
Exactly. And that's just names. Wait till we get to how he uses entire languages to shape different cultures in Middle-earth.
Okay, you've officially blown my mind. Word nerd or not, the man was a genius. I need a minute to process all this, honestly. We'll be back in a bit to talk about, well, everything else. Don't go anywhere. Okay, languages. You were saying that Tolkien, he invented languages, like whole languages, for his elves and dwarves.
Oh, he did. He really did. And it wasn't just for fun either, though I'm sure he enjoyed it.
I bet he did.
But he had a purpose. Tolkien used languages to, like, really create these distinct cultures within Middle-earth.
Okay, I'm not sure I get that.
Okay, imagine it like, think of like painting.
Right.
He's painting this picture, this world, but instead of just using different colors, he's using different ways of speaking.
So it's not just what they're saying, it's how they say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The way they talk. It tells you who they are. Like, take the Rohirrim, those horse lords from Lord of the Rings. Right?
Yeah.
Their language. It's full of Old English influences, very earthy, rugged, and a lot of words about horses, obviously.
Well, yeah, if you're going to be a horse lord.
Right. It makes sense.
Makes sense.
But it reflects their culture, their love of horses, that connection to the land, their whole warrior spirit.
They're like the cowboys of Middle-earth.
There you go. That's a great way to put it.
All right, so if the Rohirrim are the cowboys, then the elves.
Yes.
They're like speaking in, I don't know, ancient poetry.
You're getting it.
Yeah.
Spot on. The elvish languages, they're very formal, more poetic. Almost like there's ancient wisdom woven into like every syllable.
It's like listening to, I don't know, the forest itself speaking.
Yeah. Exactly, yes. And that tells you something important about them, right? They're ancient, wise, deeply connected to nature. All those things are reflected in how they speak.
Wow. So he's not just telling us about these cultures, he's letting us experience them through
Yeah,
their language.
precisely. It adds this whole layer of richness, depth you just wouldn't get otherwise. Like you could read about a culture in a textbook, sure,
Right.
but hearing their language, their songs, that's different. It's immersive.
Okay, I'm starting to see why everyone says Tolkien's world building is just on another level, but where did he get all these ideas? Was he just making this stuff up as he went along?
He was incredibly creative, no doubt, but he drew a lot of inspiration from existing myths and
In
legends.
Arthur, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But here's the thing. Tolkien wasn't just copying those stories. He knew them inside and out. He was a scholar. What he was really interested in was finding that deeper meaning
Okay.
and then taking that meaning and using it in, new and unexpected ways.
So more like remixing them.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was adding his own, unique Tolkien spin.
Gotcha.
There's a great example in the book about this. It talks about the sons of Martha from the Bible.
Okay, remind me about that story.
So it's about these two sisters, Mary and Martha. Mary sits at Jesus' feet, listening to his teachings. And Martha, she's busy, doing all the housework. And Jesus, he basically says, Mary chose the better part. That contemplating spiritual matters, that's more important than, worldly concerns.
I vaguely remember that, yeah.
Right. So Tolkien takes that idea and he kind of flips it on its head. He uses it to inform the Rangers in The Lord of the Rings.
The Rangers, those are the shadowy figures always lurking in the background.
Yes, exactly. The protectors, the unsung heroes working behind the scenes to keep everyone safe. And they often don't get any recognition for it.
So like Martha, they're stuck doing the hard work, the thankless stuff.
Yes. And that idea of quiet courage, of doing what needs to be done, even when it's dangerous and thankless, that's central to a lot of Tolkien's work.
Right, it really makes you think about all the real life rangers out there.
Exactly.
Firefighters, nurses, even just the people who make sure the trains run on time. It's not glamorous, but it's so important.
Absolutely. And it speaks to this deep understanding Tolkien had
Mm-hmm.
of human nature,
Yeah.
of all the different forms that courage can take. But there's another side of courage that he explores too. It's the kind of courage you see when you're facing impossible odds, where you need incredible resilience, that refusal to give up hope, even when things seem totally impossible.
You're talking about Frodo and Sam,
Yeah,
their journey to Mordor.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of courage than we usually see. It's not about winning battles or being a hero. It's about just putting one foot in front of the other, even when you're exhausted, terrified, when it feels like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yeah. And Tolkien, I think, he's saying that true courage, it's not about being fearless. It's about persevering even when you're afraid.
Powerful message.
Which, honestly, that's something we could all use a little more of these days.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that even the smallest person can make a difference. Even when things are dark, hope, perseverance, they can prevail. And that's just one example of how Tolkien, he takes these big universal themes, right?
Yep.
Courage, despair, hope, and he just weaves them into the very fabric of his world.
He doesn't just tell you about them.
Yeah.
He makes you feel them.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what makes it stick with you. But I gotta ask, how does he do that? It's not just the big stuff, is it? It's like he's hiding clues and connections everywhere.
He is.
It's intentional.
Oh, absolutely. He was a master of that. And one of his favorite tools, names.
Okay, tell me more about that. Names. Right. Okay. We were talking about how Tolkien used names and how they have hidden meanings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like little secrets hidden in plain sight.
Exactly.
Remember Frodo? We talked about his name, right?
Yeah.
And how it connects to the hero Frodo from Beowulf.
Right, yeah. They both had to, they both carried a heavy burden, tough choices, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Both facing these impossible choices, carrying a huge weight. And it's funny, right? Because both names, Frodo, Froda, they just sound heavy.
They do. It's like the weight of the world is on their shoulders, just in the name.
It's subtle, yeah, but it gets in your head,
Yeah.
And it's not just the sound either, Frodo. It also connects to this Old English word, fraud, which means wise or experienced.
Which, isn't it funny, because Frodo starts out, kind of naive. He's never left the Shire.
Right, exactly. He becomes wise through his journey. So the name, it's almost like it's foreshadowing his transformation.
He grows into that wisdom, the wisdom that was hidden in his name from the start. Wow.
It's like Tolkien. He planted that seed of destiny from the very beginning.
Okay, that's incredible. So it's not just individual characters, right? These names, they can reveal connections between different people, places.
Oh, absolutely. It's like those little, what are they called, Easter eggs that they hide in movies?
Yeah.
Little clues for the fans?
Yeah, yeah. I love those.
That's like that. Tolkien does something similar with names in Middle-earth.
So when you're reading Tolkien, you're not just reading one story, are you? It's like
You're uncovering all these layers.
layers of history and mythology, and they're all woven together
Yeah.
by these like little linguistic threads.
Precisely. And that brings up another really interesting thing about Tolkien and how he worked. Because he had this tendency, you see, to leave things a little unfinished.
Finished.
Well, he was always revising, expanding his stories, never quite satisfied, always tinkering. He loved the process, the creation, more than maybe the finished product.
So even after he published The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, he was still like messing around in Middle-earth.
Oh, absolutely. The Silmarillion, for example, that was published after he died. And if you go back and look at the different versions, you can see his ideas evolving, changing over time.
So it's like he wasn't just telling a story, he was building a world that was alive, that could grow and change even after he was gone.
Exactly. And I think that's a big part of why his work is still so powerful today. It's not static. It's an invitation.
An invitation to do what?
To participate.
Yeah.
In the discovery, in the interpretation. That's what makes it so exciting.
Okay, so what does all this mean for us? We're sitting here talking about Tolkien, ancient languages, hidden meanings. Why should we care?
Because it means there's always something more to find. It's a world that rewards you for looking closer, for digging deeper, for seeing those connections.
It's like you said before, it's archaeology, but with words.
Yes.
Every time you open one of Tolkien's books, it's like you have a chance to discover something new, something amazing, something that might just change how you see the world. And I think that's the magic of Tolkien, wouldn't you say?
It really is. He built a world that even now it inspires, it challenges us, and that's pretty incredible.
It is. Well, I think that about wraps it up for our deep dive into Tolkien. But, like we've been saying, it's really just the beginning, isn't it? Now it's your turn. Pick up The Road to Middle-earth, explore, read, and see what you discover in Tolkien's world. Until next time.